Hey everyone. Looks like there's 4 of you. Hi, 4 people.
Hi.
I'm sure some people will watch this back. So, for anybody that does watch this back, and for the few of you that are on here with us right now, welcome to our first ever live video.
Very exciting stuff.
No idea how this is gonna go. I don't know. Can we talk about things live?
Probably.
We'll find out.
I mean, we do amongst each other.
So yeah, the goal of this is to give people an opportunity to ask us any product questions they might have directly, kind of in light of the fact that it's Black Friday today.
Yep.
Our phones and our live chat are going crazy. So yeah, if you have a comment for us, leave it here. We can see the chat. So leave your question in the chat, and we'll get to them in chronological order, I suppose.
Yeah, and we don't really have access to the back end of the site for like a specific a specific product question, so we still might have to defer to customer service at some point if the questions get to that level.
Yeah, great point, Bob. I put it in the description of this video, but if you have a question about like an existing order or stuff like that, still the best thing to do is going to be to call 877-812-6710.
Yeah.
Or email info@Skiessentials.com. We're going to focus specifically on product related questions like should I buy the Declivity 88C or the Declivity 92 Ti?
Yeah, and in what size?
What should I buy?
Ooh, I don't know. You already have a Declivity 92 Ti, so I think you should get the 88C to vary up your quiver a little bit.
That was a bad example. Just to test this feature. Oh, there we go. Bob, this sounds like a good one for you. Hi, Paul. If you could pick a mogul ski, what wasn't mogul specific that you could use on other days? Want to spend a lot of time this year learning moguls now that my 4-year-old knee injury is mostly better.
Yeah, good question.
That's a great question.
We get a lot of questions about bumps. I think more of it happens when people compare. People are like, I want a vocal mantra. How good is it in bumps? And we kind of have to say it's not great, but maybe some other choices. So obviously, if you're not doing like a competition mogul ski, you still want to stay pretty narrow. And kind of depending on how aggressive you're looking to be can dictate how stiff or heavy you want the ski.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that you want it to have other applications as well. Interestingly, you brought up that Declivity 88C.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So, that has a nice blend of attributes. It's lightweight, it's maneuverable, it's not too wide. You can use it really well in moguls, and you can also use it all mountain. So something like that has a nice blend.
Yep. I'd also say you brought up like kind of call it recreational mogul skiing versus like competitive mogul skiing. I even go up into like the low to mid 90s.
Yeah.
Like Ranger 94 FR has always felt like such a good mogul ski, and probably a great mogul ski for somebody like you, Paul. Coming off a knee injury, it's lightweight, it's forgiving, stuff like that. Even a Rustler 9, another great ski.
Yep.
Ripstick 88s, they're getting harder and harder to find those skis. But hopefully that gives you some things to consider. I'd say that kind of 88 to mid 90 range, little bit of tip and tail rocker.
Yeah, and the good thing is that a lot of those skis have varying amounts of metal to them. So like, the 88C has none, or a Ripstick 88 has none, but something like a Mindbender 90 Ti is, a partial metal, the Rustler 9 partial metal. So you can kind of choose your width and then choose your, level of dampness or stability that you want from there.
Yep. Brian asks, is a Vocal Blaze 94 adequate for skiing backcountry in the West? I would say certainly. It's really a question of like how often are you going to be skiing really deep snow. I think a lot of us, like when you think about Western skiing, you often think like deep snow, open powder fields. We've both lived out west. It's not always like that. So yeah, I think 94 is a very versatile width for backcountry skiing, both east and west. If you are the type of person that's in deep snow a lot, you could certainly justify bumping up to the Blaze 106. But yeah, I have no reason to steer you away from the 94.
Yeah, long rocker, minimal camber underfoot does make that 94 a better floater than others in that width range too. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for a floaty 94, I think that's a good option.
This feels like a very similar question. Are the Nordica Enforcer 94s a good powder ski? I'm going to Big Sky in February. Hey, Alan, how you doing? I would say very, very similar answer. Like, yeah, they're great powder skis. Not a powder specific ski, but if you're going to be skiing that pair of skis most every day, you don't need to go super wide. Like say, you said you're going out to Big Sky, so I'm assuming you spend a decent amount of time maybe on the East Coast or Midwest or something like
Somewhere
that.
else.
So if this is a type of ski that's going to be your ski for that purpose as well as your takeout west for powder ski, I think perfectly acceptable choice. If you wanted a little bit more width, you could always bump up to the 100. If you wanted more of a true powder shape, if you already have a narrower ski, you could go Enforcer 104 and still get some good versatility, or 110 and have like a true powder ski.
And the one thing about that Enforcer lineup as a whole is that they're on the heavier side of the spectrum. So
yeah,
you kind of have to take that into consideration as well, is that a heavier ski will sink more than a correspondingly shaped light ski.
Yeah, Alan, I see your comment that you ski Connecticut. So yeah, if you're going to be skiing them here in New England Northeast terrain as well as taking them out west, 94 feels perfect to me.
Yeah, any turn, anytime.
Yep. This is a great question. Do I need the Stokely Laser WRTST? I have the AX AR Storm Rider 95 and 26 other skis already, but I feel like there is a WRT size hole in my quiver. Yep.
Yes. Next question.
No, that ski's awesome. I mean, obviously, like it comes down to your own personal position. Like, do you actually have 26 skis? I don't know, but even if that's an exaggeration, it's always fun to have another pair of skis. So would it be a justifiable decision for somebody with a limited budget? Probably not. But if that's something you can manage, then that ski is awesome. Kevin, how you doing? Do you know much about the Atomic Punx 5? I haven't skied them in a couple of years, but it's a great ski.
Yeah, I've never been on it.
The Punx is Atomic's like kind of dedicated park skis or more park focused twin tips. But yeah, perfectly good all mountain skis too, especially if you're the type of person that's a playful skier. And it looks like you're going to be spending a decent amount of time in the park too. So I don't ski exactly that ski, but I ski a pretty similar ski as a kind of daily driver for similar use, park and all mountain and stuff like that. Duke PT 16 versus Shift 13. How you doing, Kai? Gosh, I own both bindings, and I'll tell you that they feel way different.
We weighed them the other day.
Yeah, and they weigh way different.
They weigh way different.
It's closer when you have the heel piece or the toe piece removed of the Duke PT, but the Duke feels really, really, really solid, but it's also quite a bit heavier. Like I think it's like Pivot 18 weight range.
Yeah, the box itself of the bindings was not light.
Super heavy. So I use them for very different things, to be honest. The shifts are on a ski. I actually just swapped them onto a new ski, which you'll find out about soon. But I have my shifts on a ski that I use more frequently here touring in Vermont. And then my Duke PT I have on a pretty big, heavy ski, thinking that if I'm out west and have the opportunity to go ski some giant, big terrain, then that's why I have them. Yep. So, the Duke PT, I would say it definitely feels a lot stronger if you're like hucking big cliffs and stuff like that. It's great. But it is heavier. It almost kind of feels like the 12 is a better direct comparison to the Shift.
Yeah. Yeah. And just a different feeling when you click in.
Yep. Let's see. We got some great questions here. Greetings from London, England. How you doing? Foofy new. How do rossignol gamers work on hardpack and groomers? Gosh, well, they work. I suppose a good analogy would be like what happens when you take a lifted Jeep to a track day.
Yeah.
They're just huge. So it's the type of thing where like some people just on wider skis, some people will feel pretty uncomfortable like generating the necessary edge angle. But if you are a good skier and you can get a ski up on edge, they do have pretty darn good torsional stiffness and edge grip. So it's something that will work on a groomer, but it's going to be pretty darn slow edge to edge and certainly require a lot of
angulation.
Angulation.
I mean,
There
you
you
really
go.
got to get that thing up. I mean,
Yeah.
they're sturdy. They're sturdy and stable.
Exactly.
But other than that,
It's just the shape.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Let's see. In one of your reviews videos, you said Liberty was late getting skis to you, and you mentioned doing a Liberty comparison. Are you still planning on it? Great question. I was thinking that would be really fun to do. I don't know. Realistically, probably not at this point. We're just kind of running out of time on stuff like that. And now that we're back on snow, we will probably be going into more on snow focused reviews and stuff like that. So
we got the 101.
Yeah, we did have them featured in some of the
101
later comparisons. So I won't say absolutely not, but I will say probably not.
And if you have a specific question about a particular Liberty ski,
Yeah, leave it right here.
Yeah,
I'm happy to talk about that. When will you test the new Enforcers? I assume we're talking about Enforcer Unlimited. As early as next week. If any of our Nordica reps are watching, they can probably comment about how much I've been bothering them to get a ski to test. So yeah, we'll be getting on those very soon. We have a lot in the building, so if it comes to it, we'll just take a pair and put some bindings on them and call it good.
Probably more of a downhill review at this point, although I could see us making a trip uphill just to get the capability of it.
Yep. But yeah, I wouldn't rule out putting there's enough adjustability in the heel piece of a shift that Bob and I can both ski something with a shift on it.
Yep.
So there are ways for us to figure that out. Let's see. I have a 115. Cameron, how you doing? I have a 115 millimeter look pivot binding. I just changed skis due to a warranty problem. I have the Ben Shetler 100. Will I be okay with the 115 or should I change to 95?
Well, I could speak from personal experience today.
Yeah, great question. I assume you have 95s on yours.
I do have 95s. I'm, the 115 is just too wide. I mean, I have 95s on a 105.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit of modification to it, not just bending it, but also there's like those tabs that pull off the brake, which I cut off with an X-Acto knife. So just to kind of keep the brake up and out of the way. It does tuck in nice. You do have to make sure your forward pressure is appropriately adjusted, but
yeah,
I have a pair of 95s on my Ben Shetler 100s.
Yeah, so I guess the answer would be, our recommendation would be to try and switch to a 95. As you may or may not know, swapping brakes on a pivot can be more difficult than
a Griffin.
Some bindings. Yeah. So sometimes in that situation, I try and find like a friend who maybe is in the opposite situation and you guys can like trade your brakes or something like that. 115 could work. My biggest concern would be them catching if you ski switch. So yeah, my recommendation would be to throw a 95 on there. Christopher, thanks for all the awesome questions and comments. In your Fisher trip, did you spend any time in the new Transalp touring boot? I'll tell you why I'm laughing momentarily. How would it compare to the more alpine-oriented Ranger Free? I was supposed to, but I did not. They were shipping a pair of Transalps out there for me to use, and the shipment got delayed, which is why I ended up boot packing the entire 4,000 vertical feet in my Nordica Pro Machine 130s. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question, but they're certainly way more touring oriented. And we just did a preview of new Fisher boots last week. So we will be doing some testing on that stuff this season, and we'll talk more about it when we can.
Yeah, darn you and your small feet.
I tried on a 23 Transalp.
Did it fit?
No,
No.
I had dinner. I ate dinner in a pair of 23 Transalps to see if I could make that work, and I almost lost a toe. Not really, but let's see. Where are we here? Fisher Ranger 99 Ti versus Enforcer 100 mixed New England. Boy, great question. You guys are coming prepared with some great questions here. Bob, I'll give my opinion on that, and then I'll let you chime in. To me, those skis are very, very similar. I've always found the Enforcer feels a little bit more versatile and probably a little bit more forgiving, where the Ranger 99 Ti has a very stiff tail, which they accomplish similar things, but I'd say you get a little more precision out of the Ranger and a little bit more forgiveness out of the Enforcer.
Yeah, I would agree with most of that. Weight too, like we said about the 94, these Enforcers run a little heavy. So I don't have the exact weight, but I know that that Enforcer 100 is heavier. It just, that Ranger has that nice kick at the end. That precision that Jeff was just talking about runs through the tip into the tail. I mean, that carbon nose does make a big difference in that Ranger, in all of the Rangers. And then, the fact that that carbon's connected to the metal that runs underfoot and through to the tail does give it a little bit different of a feel overall. Again, like the application's the same. It's an all mountain ski that's on the wider side, great for all conditions. But the feeling of it is a little bit different. So just a little bit more power and energy coming out of the tail, a little more snap.
Yep.
I found with that Ranger, but both super, high confidence in both skis. And I think that Ranger 99 gets overlooked and overshadowed by some of the more prominent players.
Yeah, it belongs right in that category, Enforcer 100, M6 Mantra, stuff like that. It just, for whatever reason, doesn't get quite as much attention. So hopefully that helps clarify. You can only have one ski, which we get that question a lot. I think the last time I answered that question, I said Nordica Soul Rider 97. Bob and I both would probably have pretty unique answers for that. For me, a lot of that decision making comes from the fact that I still coach in the park, so I need something that'll work in the park. That ski for me works really, really well between the park and the rest of the mountain. So yeah, luckily I'm not in that position and I can have a lot of skis, but that would be my choice.
Yeah, and we play a fun game now where we hypothesize. I say, okay, Jeff, you have 0 skis, and you can choose between X and Y. And,
Yeah.
because we take into consideration what we already have, but under the premise that we have 0 skis, it's hard, I think, for us and what we do and where we live to argue against that mid to upper 90s, twin tip.
Yeah.
Just because I spend a lot of time in the woods, anything from a Soul Rider 97 to a Ben Chetler 100 to that rossignol Holy Shred, just really nice options in that upper 90s twin tip zone that just make a lot of sense for what we do.
Yeah, and like for you need something that you can use to ski with your kids.
Right. I got to ski with my kids.
So having like a super stiff, crazy
Right.
ski just wouldn't make sense.
No, my Enforcer 100 and the 191 is quite difficult in the tight woods around here. So
Yep. So that would be our response is wider twin tips. Elena, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. How are you? Happy Friday to you as well. Thinking about expanding my quiver. Currently, I have a 1-ski quiver of Brahma 88. Thinking about adding the Shiva 9 or the Ripstick 96. Gosh, both great choices. For my initial reaction to that is if you go Shiva, the 10 might actually be better.
Right, better spread.
Might be a better complementing ski. The Ripstick 96 is great. I do think like the overall feel and flex pattern of that ski is a very, very good complement to a ski like the Brahma 88. So yeah, my thought with that would be Ripstick 96 would be great, or maybe Shiva 10.
Yeah, I tend to try to look for a 10 millimeter spread in waist width, so having that 88 and then if it were a Shiva 9, that might be a little bit too much of a crossover. But
Right.
if you're looking for that 10, I think that's a good enough spread.
Yep. From Ohio, looking to make my first trip to Vermont as an intermediate, bringing my wife, who has only skied a handful of times. Stowe or Killington? It's a great question. You guys might be surprised, but like I haven't really skied Killington that much. I've skied Killington mostly in early season situations and competitions, so I don't really like explore the whole mountain. I guess my first reaction to that would be if additional amenities are important to you, you'll probably get more of that in Stowe. But the terrain itself is pretty comparable.
Yeah, I'd say the difference in terrain is negligible for that. And,
Yeah.
Killington has a lot of everything. And what Stowe has for intermediate terrain is really, really good, but it's also somewhat limited. There's just not the same acreage at Stowe as there is at Killington. So
Yeah.
there's less options, but
Yeah.
the quality, I think, is better. You get that full top to bottom 2,000 vertical feet on the quad and the gondola.
Yep.
And then, Spruce is a little bit different, but, from what I remember of Killington, you can find whatever you want to find. You can do shorter laps over there, a little bit easier, but, both great options.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
We do get a little bit more natural snowfall up here in northern Vermont and Stowe, so you can kind of add that to your list of factors for consideration. Bob, will you do me a favor? You got your computer with you. Will you look up the available links in a Salomon Stance 84? I think I know, but I'm going to have you. Rain Tech time, you're asking what is a good length of the Salomon Stance 84 for a skier who is 180 centimeters and 70 kilograms in weight. My guess is there's a 176.
I should have brought my height conversion chart with me.
While we look that up,
169, 177.
That was so close. So yeah, my recommendation would be that 177. Not really a type of ski where I feel like you need to go longer than your height, especially for you. You're not an exceptionally heavy skier, so yeah, I would go 177. Hi guys, really like your videos. They're very informative. Thank you very much.
Is that the question?
Matt, hey, what's up, Matt McAlary?
Hi, Matt.
I was reading your comment. Sorry about that. A good friend of mine has been asking me questions about the elasticity of alpine bindings. Can you elaborate on how or why elasticity is beneficial? Boy, Matt, great question. Elasticity of a binding basically refers to how much it will move before it lets you out.
Yeah.
So it's a retention thing. Generally, bindings with longer elastic travel will keep you in your bindings longer, but will do so safely still. So the Look pivot has always been famous for its amount of elastic travel, both in the toe and the heel. So for a lot of skiers, it's not really a make or break thing, but for other skiers, having a binding with a lot of elastic travel can be really nice.
Right. I think the avoidance of the pre-release is the big hang up with the elastic travel. So if you're, I don't know. I mean, every time my bindings come off, they should have come off.
Yep.
So that's kind of from a personal perspective, that's how I look at it. But like, I don't know when they didn't come off, whether they should have or not, and as more of a pivot skier on my own personal stuff, but like we ski demo bindings all the time,
Right.
So like,
yeah. And I don't like pre-release out of Griffin heels.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a pretty small, window that you're dealing with. But just, bindings are mostly about confidence, and if you're in something that you feel has your back, then you got to roll with it.
Yep.
It's the satisfaction of clicking in, and some people will never not ski a Salomon STH.
Right.
That's them for life.
Right. Or like you with pivots.
Sure. Yeah, as long as they keep making them.
It seems like they're going to keep making them.
Yeah, I mean, and the technology hasn't really changed since they started. It's crazy when you look at a 25, 30-year-old look binding, and it's basically the same thing.
Yep. All right, we got a faction question. We get a lot of faction questions, so I thought this is a good opportunity to talk about faction in general. A lot of people ask why we don't include faction in our content. Right now, we just don't have great availability to their skis. We have been testing them pretty consistently over the past couple of years. So yeah, I always tell people keep your eyes peeled, and there's a good chance you may see some faction stuff in our content down the road. Specifically here, I want to buy a 2022 Faction Candide Thovex 3.0. What do you think about that ski? It's great. I'd say like the one thing about that ski that's pretty unique is it doesn't have any early taper. So the tips and tails are really wide. Some skiers really like that. Other skiers might not. It makes it a little bit less maneuverable, but it gives you really, really, really good float, especially like in the extremities of the ski. If you think about how Candide skis, he skis very powerfully. He's not making slow speed short turns through trees. He's making like 60-mile-an-hour, like kind of giant slashy turns. Yeah. So that shape works really well for him. So I guess think about tips and tails, whether that shape will work for you. But aside from that, I think it's a great ski. When is Rossignol going to change the top sheets on their Black Ops, especially the Sender/Sender TI? I don't know if I'm allowed to answer that question.
I just love how their catalog, they have everything. They have the jacket, the pants, the boots, the poles,
the matching
entire
stuff.
matching kit from top to bottom. And it's, yeah, I hear you. Like, it sounds like this person is not a fan of, of that type of graphic, or
Christopher, I think it's fair to expect new graphics in the coming season.
But you can really get matchy with that stuff out of their catalog. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but we will have more information about that kind of stuff in just a month or two. Hey guys, thanks for the live. It's epic. Thanks. It's fun so far. Let's say I'm 6'3", 350 pounds, 36 years old, and I want to dip my toes in backcountry. Does a shift binding, or would a shift binding be enough?
I don't know what the DIN chart is on that. I mean,
6'3", 350. I could bring it up.
I'd imagine it'd be under.
I think like
under 13.
I would say it probably would be enough. I think my recommendation would be, like, if you don't mind the extra cost, you might as well bump up to the Duke PT16, because that would give me like full confidence, where I have more like 90% confidence that the Shift 13 would be fine. Certainly, like how aggressive you are would play into that too.
Yeah, nothing really goes up to a 13 on the DIN chart.
Let's see. If I want to replace a marker R Motion 2 binding system with a marker race plate and the now new XComp grip walk compatible binding, how damaged from drilling the R Motion plate will the ski be? Should be fine, Paul. I can't speak specifically to the drill patterns of those. But yeah, I wouldn't have any issue personally taking one plate off and putting it on another ski, or putting another plate on. The only issue would be if the holes kind of lined up on top of each other. You might have to decide whether you want to go further or back with the plate, but then you could do the opposite with putting the binding on the plate, if that makes sense, to retain the right midsole mark.
Yeah, and the plates don't take the same torque that the regular bindings do. Just binding on ski is different than binding on plate on ski.
Yep.
But yeah, you'd want to, if you had to offset the holes, you'd have a decision to make.
Yep. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Hi from New Zealand. How's it going? Thoughts on boot stiffness number? I have an Atomic Hawks and a Technica Cochise 110, and they feel way different in flex. Technica is stiffer. Is it hard to demo boots? It is hard to demo boots, but jumping to a 120 ? You fit a lot of boots in your life.
I mean, that number is not a norm, so it's not like a DIN number. There's nothing specific about a flex. It's marketing. It's how the boot company positions it in their catalog. So when, I'm sorry, what was the brand? Was it Atomic?
Atomic Hawks and a Technica Cochise 110.
Right. So, Atomic will say their 120 is here. And if the 120 is the stiffest in the Hawks lineup, let's say 130, because that's a more traditional number, then the next boot will be the 120 will be softer and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean that the Hawks 130 is going to be as stiff as the Cochise 130. Those 130s do not line up. They're only specific to each other within that brand's catalog.
Yep.
So there's really no way to know. I would look at the types of plastics used. That might give you an indication. So something like a polyether or a polyurethane is going to be stiffer than like acrylamide or a different plastic used in more touring oriented boots like that. So take a look at the plastics. You can kind of find that information on the internet too of what the durometer of those individual plastics are and how they're used. But generally the polyether is the stiffest. Then it goes down from there.
Hopefully that clarifies. I think it would be sweet if there was like an industry standard or like a third-party company that measured boot flex and then like put out a list of actual boot flex numbers. I don't even know what the unit of measurement would be, but yeah, unfortunately, those are like somewhat arbitrary. Like Bob said, they're just kind of telling you how things compare to other boots in that line.
Right. Yeah, they work off the stiffest and then they go down from there.
Yep. Elena, I see you chiming back in saying that you were thinking Shiva 10 and Ripstick 104. So yeah, going back to that conversation, we didn't mention the Ripstick 104, but yeah, I think that would be a very good choice too. And I think those skis could arguably be better for you if you want this second pair to be, more of a soft snow powder capable ski.
And that Ripstick generates a lot of energy for how light it is. You're obviously dealing with a stiffer ski, a damper, heavier ski with the Shiva, but that Ripstick does have just a surprising amount of energy coming out of it.
Most surprising light ski for stability / smoothness. I normally hate how light skis feel. I mean, we were literally just talking about them, but the first thing that comes to mind for me personally in that question is probably the Ripsticks,
Mm-hmm.
mostly just because the vibration damping that they have in the 3-dimensional carbon rods and carbon tubes. I feel like a broken record talking about it, but we've been consistently impressed with that feel. And then there's some other brands too. The Declivity 88C, that was a big one when you tested it, and our initial takeaway was like, wow, this thing's actually really strong and it has some good vibration damping too. But yeah, I'd say most surprising, like thinking back to testing these skis and actually being surprised, I was pretty darn surprised skiing those Ripsticks. Maybe the most surprised skiing the Ripstick Blacks, literally stopped halfway down the trail and was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
So pretty impressive.
I'd put my vote in for the rossignol Escaper.
Yeah.
That was what I was probably most surprised with in terms of when you pick it up with your hands versus when you get it on your feet and start to go. Just how smooth that was for how light it is.
Yep.
And another marketing thing, that one ends up in the free tour aspect of Rossignol's catalog, but certainly has downhill capacity and application to it.
Yep. Victor, hello from Austria. I'm deciding between the Black Crow's Navis Freebird and the Kesley TX 103. Why is the Navis seen more as a 50-50 ski and the Kesley as a touring specific while it still is on the heavy side? Boy, I wish we had our touring ski weights in front of us. I can't speak. Will you?
Up, can I?
Yeah, if you could look up the weights of those two skis.
We won't have the TX 103 because we did the 93.
Oh, that's true. I don't have a great answer for that right away. To me, neither one feels really like a 50-50 ski to me. Both of them kind of feel like they're leaning a little bit more towards touring. But let me have Bob look those up, and we'll come right back to you. Looking for a fun, easy turning ski, good for woods, up and stow, upgrading from the Rossignol Soul 7. I feel like a lot of people are in that situation, and it's an understandable situation to be in because the Sender, we were talking about those a little bit or a few minutes ago, but the Sender is kind of the direct replacement to the Soul 7, and it's not quite as easy to ski. It's a little heavier, not as much rocker. Rossignol's sister brand, Dynastar, they came out with a ski called the M Free 108. Different shapes between those two skis. The M Free has a little bit more of a twin tip vibe to it, but I think that M Free 108 is it's very nice that they created that ski because it does kind of fill some of the void left by the Soul 7. Another ski that comes to mind right away is the Elan Ripstick 106. I would stick with the non-black version of that ski. I think it's blue.
Which one?
Ripstick 106.
Oh yeah, blue with
blue and yellow.
Yeah.
So both those I think would be great places to start. Hey Pat, how's it going? Ripstick 96 green, QST 98, Ranger 102 FR, Enforcer Unlimited 94 100, complementing a 2021 Core 87.
Boy, don't tempt us with a good time. That sounds like a great choice.
Yeah, boy. I mean, it's hard. I feel like sometimes you guys ask questions like this, and I'm like, this person doesn't need our help.
You got it. You're there.
You've figured this out on your own. I know that's not helpful at all. It's more of a joke than anything, but I say that because you've narrowed it down to some really good skis. I guess I would say the first three, the Ripstick 96 green, the QST 98, and the Ranger 102 FR would probably be my first choices. For some reason, my mind goes to QST 98 and Ranger 102 as better complementing skis. I feel like they have different capabilities and a different feel. The Ripsticks and the Enforcer Unlimiteds, as you know, are both quite lightweight already, or also. The Core 87 is pretty lightweight. So I feel like with the QST 98 and the Ranger 102, you'd get a ski with a little bit more stability and a little bit more vibration damping, as well as more soft snow and more powder performance. So hopefully that answers your question, or at least helps. But yeah, kudos to you because you picked some great skis there, or you've determined a good set of skis to choose for. Gosh, you guys are asking a lot of questions. We'll try and speed up because I just realized how far back we were.
You want to go back to the touring question? Was it Victor?
Yeah, absolutely. What were those weights, Bob?
So on paper, they're very similar.
That's what I thought.
The TX 103 and the 181, 1620 grams, and the Navis and 179 is 1700, both with a 19-meter turn radius. So why is the Navis more 50-50? Again, I think we kind of defer to the marketing departments on these. That's Kesley's touring line. Whereas Black Crowes, I think that they look at their Freebird line more as a dual purpose setup. And almost in the way that Kesley looks at their FX series is how Black Crowes looks at their Freebird series.
Yep.
So
sure.
I do think that there's more of a marketing edge to this direct comparison.
Yeah, but realistically, they're going to be very similar.
Yeah, very, very similar on paper.
Yeah. So if anything, like if you have a brand preference between those two skis, or one just like looks cooler, like we rarely say stuff like that, but at that point, they're such similar skis overall. That's why I kind of hesitated a bit with your initial question.
Pricing and availability have a lot to do with your ultimate decision.
Christopher Magnuson, what brand of gear do you wear that you recommend? and we can talk about things that we don't sell here.
Sure.
Totally. I have been an Arage ambassador for the past 4 or 5 years. I love it. It fits. The fit is like perfect for me. It's technical, but it's also kind of got some like free ride, freestyle influence. I know you have some of it yourself.
Yep. Yeah, I bought the warmer coat, Orage coat last year and really like it. Nice quality product.
Yep. To speak to some stuff that we actually carry, I'm very impressed with what Armada is doing right now. And you're going to continue to see some really impressive stuff out of Armada outerwear. In fact, I was considering switching to Armada outerwear this year. And no real reason why I didn't. It just kind of logistically didn't have the time to figure that out. Bob, this is a great question from you. Just got the Ben Shetler 100. Every time I see BC, it's hard to differentiate between backcountry and Ben Shetler.
Or Black Crows.
Or Black Crows, but I knew what it was here. Just got the Ben Shetler 100 from Ski Essentials, trying to figure out where to best mount the bindings. I never go park, mostly steeps, trees, bumps, off trail. Sounds a lot like how you ski, Bob. You just got a pair, and I know that you somewhat regretted your choice of mount point.
Yeah, I think I'm going to remount. I went on the 0 on the factory recommended setting, and I think I'm going to go a -2. I feel like my tip hooks up a little bit too soon when I'm just skiing normally. And so I think putting them back will even me out a little bit. And, I'm not in the park ever either. So I don't have that, that to worry about. So I think for directional skiing on that ski, it's that 0 is just a little bit too far forward for someone like me. And it sounds like you as well. So if you're at all hesitant, split the difference, go with -1. But I think that I know enough about it so far that I'm going to go a -2.
Don't ask me, because I would be like +5.
Plus million.
John, how you doing? Really torn between Enforcer 100 and QST 98 for an everyday ski. Intermediate advanced skier, following my wife on the Groomers a lot, but love to get into the moguls and trees, powder as well. I'd probably point you towards the QST 98, I think. Bob, I'd be interested in your opinion as well.
Yep.
I generally don't recommend the Enforcer 100 anytime intermediate comes up in the conversation in general. Not to say that you couldn't ski it, but it might not be the right tool for you. And then moguls, trees, and powder. I think the QST 98 is a more maneuverable ski in moguls and trees, and I think you'll get a little more float out of it in powder. I think my recommendation there would be QST 98.
Yeah, I probably would have been a little more quick to that answer and a little more emphatic than you were. And not to say that the QST 98 is an intermediate ski by any stretch. Like, I think we both had very positive experiences on it and pushed it pretty hard.
Yeah, just easier to ski.
Yeah, easier to ski, more rocker, a little bit friendlier, no less heavy. We've talked in just this chat here about the Enforcers being on the heavier side, but that QST falls in that category as well, in terms of being on the heavier side of the spectrum in that 98 to 100 millimeter category.
Yep. Let's see. When are you guys planning on doing your basement deals videos for the upcoming season? Gosh, that's a great question. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Unfortunately, we probably won't be doing those this year because there is just not anything left.
Our basement is pretty well cleaned out.
The bargain basement is like, it's heavily picked over.
Every once in a while we stumble across a pretty good deal, and like we have a 20% off sale going right now for non-new products.
Yeah.
And so, if you go on our site and filter by year, or, category by year, 2021 or older, all of those skis are getting 20% off. So if you find something you like in there, it's already discounted, it's going to get another 20%. Like, that's as best as we're going to do. And we've found some really good deals. What were some of the ones that stuck out? Elan Wingman.
That wing. No, it was an 82 Ti. I think
Ti.
It was a longer length, and there was like one of them.
Yeah.
It was like free.
Right.
Practically free.
Pretty cheap. So we'll find stuff like that every once in a while and say, well, look at this deal. Can't wait for that to go 20% off.
Let's see, where are we now? Matt McAlery.
Hi, Matt.
Sounds like you're spending your Friday just watching us, which is great. I hope you're doing well. Let's go skiing sometime soon. Rapid fire for Jeff. Favorite jump trick? Rodeo 5 critical. Blunt grab or mute grab? I've said different things through different points of my life, Matt. Blunt grab, because it's as I age, it requires less flexibility. Powder or park? 35-year-old Jeff says powder. Groomers or bumps? I can't take either one. I don't care. Is Bob really the best bump skier at Stowe?
No.
Probably. I think.
When I was talking to someone else, like, we need to have like an over 40 division. But then again, like,
there's no like teenage bump skiers at Stowe.
Yeah, I know.
It's Bob.
I doubt it. I'll give a shout out to Josh Phelps for being a phenomenal mogul.
Josh Phelps, yeah, he'd give you a run for your money. Fair enough. What do you think about the Armada White Walker? Awesome ski, awesome powder ski. Sammy Carlson's the man. Works really well for the type of skiing that he does. It kind of feels very similar to if you were watching when we talked about the Candide 3.0 or the Gamer.
Yeah.
That White Walker kind of falls right into that same category.
Sturdy. You pick that thing up in your hands and there's a pair of skis there for sure.
Yep. Let's see. I have been skiing the Enforcer 93s. I'm looking at trying something different. What ski does well with hard packed snow as the Enforcers but are lighter? Nothing.
Right. This is a pretty common question. What has this amount of grip and power that's not as heavy? And that's a sacrifice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, that was a cop out of an answer.
Stokely Stormrider 95.
Stormrider 95, Maverick 95, the new Atomic Maverick 95. Again, I don't think you're getting quite as much. I guess the Stormrider 95, you're going to retain the same
Serpo.
hard poke. Yeah. Serpo.
Fisher Ranger 92 Ti.
Thanks, Bob. Head cores. I'd throw the head cores in there too. I'd emphasize that you're not getting as much firm snow performance with those. But yeah. Hopefully that gives you some skis to look at. Let's see. If you listen to Matt Manser, product manager for Atomic Boots on podcast, they say they're 130 as the median against competitor boots. That's really valuable information, and I appreciate you providing that. Thank you, Christopher. Trying to choose between an Armada Reliance 92 Ti, a Ripstick 88, or 94, or Santa Ana 88, or 93. For an all-mountain carving performer for my teenage daughter who can hold her own, mostly Pacific Northwest skiing. Gosh.
I'd lean wider, I guess.
I would start there.
Snow generally.
I think you can go 92, 93, or 94. I think then it might come down a little bit to her weight. I would say if she is a very lightweight girl, as some teenagers can be, I think the Ripsticks work really well for lighter skiers. I'd say if she is a more powerful, more aggressive skier and or on the heavier side, Santa Ana 93 would be great. And then Reliance 92 Ti kind of feels like it splits the difference.
I'd say that's a good middle ground of having nice energy to it, but not being too powerful.
Yeah, I'll say the Reliance 92 Ti was one of the best performers in our ski test across the board.
Yeah, definitely a lot of really positive reviews of that.
From our testers. Very consistent feedback. Let's see. Black Crow's Atris as a Jibby Resort freeride powder ski. Better to mount pivot 15 or 18. It doesn't matter, really, unless your din goes outside the 15 range. So basically those bindings are identical, the pivot 15 and the pivot 18. They both use the full metal housing on the toe, where when you drop down to 14 and 12 in the pivot line. So yeah, it actually doesn't matter.
Right. It's just like where you chart. If you don't chart onto the 18,
Yep.
get the 15.
Yeah. Or the 18.
And
Doesn't
they're the same price, I believe.
I think they are too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should be the same price. You said the price is very similar. I think it's so similar that it's the same. Let's see. Not a question. Just wanted to thank Jeff again for help with the K2 Reckoner 102. Oh, that he won. Yeah. What's up,
nice.
James? How are you? Hope you have a great season. Hope you really, really enjoy those skis. What would you say is the Chevy Impala of all mountain skis?
Is this going to be an insult or a compliment?
I don't know. I've never driven a Chevy Impala.
I've ridden in a Chevy Impala, not a police car, but
I don't know. What are Chevy Impalas known for? Like grand touring?
I don't know. They're smooth and, it's the kind of a cheap, the poor man's Cadillac.
Deacon 80?
I was thinking of a Mindbender 90 Ti.
Okay.
But that's
a really hard question.
Well, we do a lot of car comparisons. Like
that's true.
We should broaden our scope of automotive knowledge, I guess.
Got my Fisher Ranger FR 102. So excited to ski them next weekend. I would be too. Love that ski. Super fun. Let's see. Is there a big difference on the front side between the Origin 101 and the Origin 96? These are Liberty skis for anybody that doesn't know. Which ski is more fun, poppy between the Soul Rider and the Origin? First question, I would say no. There's not a huge difference between those two skis on the front side. Obviously, 96 is going to be a little bit quicker edge to edge, but they both have very, very similar torsional stiffness. Both of those skis are a lot better now as front side skis because of that VMT 1.0 core upgrade. And then, yeah, I'd say in general, the Origins are going to be the more poppy, playful skis compared to Soul Riders.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, it's 5 millimeters. So if you consider the width of the edge to be 2 millimeters, it's basically 2 edges of difference for a visual reference point. But yeah, I don't think there's you might get a little bit more energy out of the tail in the narrower ski, but overall, I found them to be pretty similar.
Yep. So let's ski this follow-up question. Going back to boots, we were talking about boots and flex patterns. If anybody was watching during that, follow-up question here. Everyone says that 110s are intermediate flex. I don't think that's an accurate description of boot flex. Like you could have an expert skier in a 110 flex boot. It's more your size and your skiing style and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like there's no reason why an intermediate shouldn't ski a 120 flex if that's what works best for you, and vice versa. An expert skier could go with a softer flexing boot.
Yeah, if you want to talk about ankle dorsiflexion, we can do that as well. And just if you physically can't bend beyond this point, then you don't need a stiff boot. If you're very flexible and you're in a 110, you're going to keep going and you're eventually going to leverage your heel up. Yep. So it depends on your ankle flexibility as well. So there's a lot of factors involved, but in no way, shape, or form is a 110 strictly and specifically an intermediate flex.
No, not at all. Jared S. currently looking for some boots for all mountain with a little uphill capability. What do you recommend going on QSD 98s with shift 10s? Jared, that's honestly the type of thing where it's best to go to a boot shop if you can. I would say that just about every single ski boot brand at this point makes an appropriate model for you. So it would be like kind of irresponsible for Bob and I to sit here and say like, go get the Solomon over the K2,
right?
Because we don't know what's going to fit you best. So I know we're an e-commerce dealer. So you might have been hoping to get an answer and then go to our site and just click buy. We also have a brick and mortar shop and have been fitting ski boots for 40 years.
Yeah, long time.
So yeah, our company is committed to it, and just as a theory, that's something where you're going to want to at least start that conversation with a boot fitter, figure out what width and what brand is going to work best for you.
Solomon marketing is definitely driving you towards a Shift Pro
That
130.
So yeah, I was gonna start and just say, yeah, the Shift would be the boot. So maybe you can start there if you want, but I would say don't necessarily buy a boot from its name or its brand.
Right. I mean, it's hard to look at that kit that they put together in the catalog and say, okay, this is good for everyone all at the same time. But that's like Jeff said, it's a good place to start if you're looking for a boot that complements those skis and bindings. That's what that boot is designed for. But if it doesn't fit your foot, then it's not worth anything.
All right, let's see. What else do we got here? Araj is fantastic. Love the Gibson bib. Yep, I ski in the Gibson bib. Please do this regularly. It's great. Maybe we will. Brett, hey Brett, how you doing? Nice to hear from you. Okay, let's get serious for 2022. When's the Ski Essentials Pinnacle Inner Bootwork Ski Blade product test and employee comp?
Ooh.
Gates and jumps. We want to see this specifically on snowblades. Or ski boards. I think would be the politically correct term. Yeah, if you want to help me plan that, I'm down.
Yeah, no, I think again, don't tempt us with a good time. I just saw a nice used pair up at Play It Again Sports in South Burlington. If they're still there next time I go up, I'm getting them.
Yep. So just as a quick update, we're 56 minutes into this video. I think what we'll do from here is I'm going to try and kind of go through the remaining questions a little quicker. We might skip over just some comments and stuff like that because we're starting to get more people just saying hi. So a big hi to all of you that are just saying hi. And we'll probably cut this off just a little over an hour. Try and clean up some of these outstanding questions here. Beyond your quiver videos, what's the most recent purchase / acquisition for each of you?
In ski stuff, or in general?
I have an Elan Ripstick Tour 104.
I have a pair of Del Bello Krypton Eel Moros that I bought that I'm trying to turn into a project boot.
The Ripstick 104 Tour, I do think it's probably going to stay technically my skis, but just for full disclosure and because you guys are asking, and I mentioned it earlier, I took a shift binding and mounted those with a shift binding so Bob and I can both ski them.
Okay.
So we're going to be using that as our test ski, so we can review that ski. So more like an acquisition, I guess.
Yeah. And I wanted to try a Cabrio boot. I've never skied in a Cabrio boot before. So I got that El Moro with the Intuition liner, and we'll see how it goes. It's pretty tight.
Let's see. What do we got here? I have Atomic Punx 100 with shift bindings. Was looking at the Enforcer 104 for a second pair of skis. More powerful while being able to handle tighter terrain. I would say that's probably, it might surprise you, but probably not the best choice.
Yeah, this kind of goes against my previous thought that you need 10 millimeters difference, but they're very different skis being within 4 millimeters of each other underfoot.
Yeah, so this morning was opening day at Stowe. Bob was skiing his Punch 100. I was skiing my Enforcer 104s. It was very obvious that Bob's skis were quicker than my skis.
Yeah.
So the Enforcer 104, I think it's really important to as a reminder that it's pretty heavy. So that's like why I chose it today. So I could just let it go straight and like absorb all the bumps and the snow, and I didn't have to work as hard, where Bob was making a lot of smaller turns on the side of the trail and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if it's the best choice. Certainly more powerful, but not necessarily going to handle tighter terrain. So that's my take. If you have follow-up questions, if you want to talk more about that, certainly get in touch. I don't know if we'll get to your question while we're still here today, but I'd be perfectly happy to talk more about that.
And that Ben Chetler is great for the tight trees we have here.
Yeah, that's my hesitation. Is that's such a quick ski that and I'm not sure where to go with that. Let's see. Nordica Enforcer 100 for Scottish backcountry, heavy windblown powder. Great.
Yep.
I've never skied the Scottish backcountry, but I've skied the Enforcer 104 and plenty of heavy windblown powder, and it handles that terrain really, really well. It's wide enough, but you also have the stability and vibration damping and all that stuff. Difference between Armada Warden and the Armada STH. The Warden's a lower stand height. That's a big reason why some skiers like it. It's a little wider of a platform too. The STH is kind of famous for the amount of elastic travel and the connection to your boot that the toe piece provides. So they're both great bindings. I personally prefer the STH just because I really think the toe piece is really cool. I've also never had an issue with the Warden. So
yeah, and I think that Warden, the STH is really proven. That toe hasn't changed. We talked about the pivot and that not changing. The STH is the same way. I mean, you have that pair of 4S's with 25-year-old bindings.
Yeah, they're very similar.
And that toe design has stayed very much the same. That Warden, similar to the Griffin and the Attack, they were kind of developed in order to accommodate that wider modern skis. So they have that wider footprint.
I almost feel like it was a reaction to those bindings from like a marketing perspective too.
Yeah.
I think Salomon and Atomic felt like they needed something that fit into that look.
Yeah.
In that category.
Well, you can still put that STH on narrower skis.
Yep.
So I guess the wider ski would be more Warden oriented.
Bob, here's a good one. What's the 3 fastest skis you sell? I thought it just said fastest skis. I'll just say the 1 fastest ski we sell is 218 centimeter downhill skis, which if you follow our comparisons and you watch the front side comparison, you might know that we took a pair out of inventory and they're sitting behind my desk, and we will be making a video on 218 downhill skis.
Yeah, we need some more terrain for that.
Yeah, it's going to be terrifying.
But if they're talking about like a recreational ski, like what's the fastest all mountain ski, I'd put in a vote for the Blizzard Brahma if that's
sure.
What outside of race skis, if you're looking at all mountain skis, that one's pretty fast.
Kesley MX88.
Okay, that's a good one too.
What's your take on the Salomon STH 13 compared to the Marker and Attack 13? Very similar conversation to the one that we just had. How does stand height play into it? Like we were just saying, some people really like low stand height. I said I preferred the STH over the Warden, but I'm certainly a skier that I do value lower stand height. So I will go kind of as low as I can within what I've decided I want for bindings. That doesn't really make sense. Those are all great bindings. It's really the toe piece. The toe piece is the biggest difference between that. When I was a slopestyle competitor, I used the Jester Pro for a long time, and I also used the Attack 16, and I didn't have any issues with either of those bindings ever. So those we're talking big jumps, a lot of torque on your bindings, pretty demanding on your equipment, and I never had any issues. So they're all great bindings.
The other thing
personal preference
with the Attack is that they do have a metal plate that attaches to the ski and the heel. So Griffin and STH both have a plastic plate that goes onto the ski, and then the binding screws onto it, whereas the Attack is a single piece, the 13 or 16 or 14, I guess is the 2022. But those are one piece on a metal plate, so the metal goes right onto the ski. So you could make an argument that that's a more direct connection, although we never really see much of an issue with any of
them. Here's a great question. Just wondering if you think there will ever, or if they will ever come out with an Elan Ripstick 88 Black Edition. Every time we see them, Bob asks for one.
Yep.
So
if they've been listening, I mean, as soon as we did, the Ripstick 96 video, if you look back on YouTube comments or our chairlift chat comments, there are a handful of them related to that 88 Black. And we've told them that, we said, hey, we've getting some traction on the hope for an 88 Black. So it's in their ear.
So, all right, we're going to wrap things up pretty quickly here. We're just going to kind of go rapid fire through some of these questions. Bob, I'm going to open these up to you, and I want a quick answer from you. Good?
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have to be that quick. I just wanted to put you on the spot. Solomon Stance 96 versus Enforcer 100. Any thoughts on one being more forgiving than the other?
Stance is more forgiving.
Thank you for taking the time. You're very welcome. Can a guy ski a Ripstick 88 women's?
Yes.
They're the same, just different lengths. Have you ever skied augment skis?
No.
This is fun. Is it a good idea to start learning park features as a first timer in the park with rental skis?
No.
Yeah, don't do that. If you do, get the damage waiver. No, I wouldn't recommend that. Not going to be the most enjoyable experience. I
You
wouldn't
gotta start
think.
somewhere, though.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, you could do small jumps and stuff like that. Beyond that, I wouldn't recommend it because the ski is not very balanced and it's heavy, and the bindings won't be very strong. So, what jacket and pants are you guys repping this year? We talked about that earlier. I wear a Raj. Bob wears a bunch of different stuff.
Burton fits me well. I try to shop consigned and used clothes when I can, and I find some good Burton deals. So,
looking to replace my Armada TST. He's 192. Any recommendations? I guess I would start with the tracers. The Armada tracers would be a great place to start. I actually think the Armada Declivity 102 would be a really good one to look at too. It's a little heavier than the TST. It doesn't have as much of that kind of drastic, like 5-point side cut, early taper style look to it. But a similar like feel and how it skis. Do you remember the TST?
I don't.
I sold the TST at a previous shop I worked at, so pretty familiar with that ski. So yeah, I'd start within Armada's new line, and check out both the Declivity and the tracers and kind of go from there. Let's ski. I ski 188 bench Hitler 100s as my East Coast one ski quiver. Thinking about expanding the quiver. Recommendations. You comments about the M Pro 99 seemed interesting. M Freeline would be too similar.
Yeah. But I think that if you're going to a complementary ski, I'd go narrower, I guess. And that 90 M Pro 99 and the bench Hitler 100 are certainly different in terms of construction and application. But if your goal is to go more trail oriented, then M Pro 90 or Stance 90 would be Maverick 88 would be more logical moves, I think, than a similarly widthed ski.
Pole straps or no pole straps?
The first thing to go on a pair of poles.
I use my pole straps.
Gonzo.
This is fun. I would put I would add into that like it just use your pole straps correctly. That's where I feel like most injuries come
throw
from.
Them in the trash.
All right. I use pole straps because I don't like dropping my poles in the park when I'm like hitting jumps and stuff like that. I when I was competing, I didn't use straps. Bob's thought about not using straps in the woods and stuff like that. There's certainly something to be said about that. Pretty much all my poles are Scott, so they have the like safety release feature, so the straps will come off. The Lakey strap to pole interface system, rate that or gimmick. I've never loved it personally. Some people love it.
Yeah.
I used it like when it first came out. I think I was 12 and I had a pair. And I remember them icing up sometimes and like not clicking in. I think I dropped my poles off the lift once. So
I would never buy that brand of pole simply because they use that.
Really profound statement.
I'm that opposed to straps.
All right, there you go. Let's see. I'm 184.5 centimeters tall for the Ripstick 106. Do you recommend choosing the 188 centimeter length? I would. That kind of corresponds to my height and the length that I use, and your size and the length that you choose. They're pretty manageable in longer lengths. And gosh, we're getting right down to the bottom here. The day after powder day when the mountain is a mess and I want mid 80 fun ski that I can cruise around on at low speeds. Canjo or Vocal Deacon, I would go Canjo. The Canjo is going to give you a lot more versatility for variable snow conditions, which you can certainly get the day after a powder ski. My little brother is looking to get on a longer all mountain ski because he just outgrew a Revolt 95. That's
Yeah, so those top out at 181.
181. Yeah, he must. So you could always go longer. I mean, if he wasn't maxed out in the Revolt, he could go 181. I skied a 181 Revolt 95 for quite a long time. If you're saying he just outgrew the size range of that ski,
your Soul Rider 97.
Soul Rider 97 comes in a 185. Ski is pretty long too. That would be a good one. Armada ARV 96, I'm pretty sure comes in a 184.
184, yeah.
So you'll be able to find a fair amount of twin tip skis in the mid 180 range. Difference between the men's and women's ripsticks? Nope. We mentioned that just a few moments ago, I think.
Width, so
sure. Yeah, construction.
There's no men's 94 or 102. Again, that's more a marketing thing.
Yep.
But that's width and size and graphic.
Do you think the success of the Mirror's core will inspire more brands to be a bit more creative and innovative? I think
hope so.
I mean, I think we'll know more as we get through this season. I think the Mirror's core is very successful in its application and how it skis, but it's yet to be seen whether like a ton of people buy them.
Right, and
that's
the thing.
That's what needs to happen for more manufacturers to make skis like that, is they have to have the sales numbers to back it up.
Yeah, and if you think about like how long the Rustler 9 has stayed the way it is, because it's a successful model and they've sold a lot and they hit on a nice blend of things. So if Mirror's core can do that, then I'm sure that'll open up some avenues for other companies.
Yep. So we're going to end here in just a couple minutes. Griffin 13 versus Attack 13. It's honestly like kind of personal preference between those bindings. There is a price difference. So if the price matters to you and you want to save a little bit money, go with the less expensive binding. We've skied a ton of them. Bob talked about this earlier. We ski a ton of the demo versions of those bindings, and I really don't have a strong preference one way or the other.
The updated Griffin heel is a little
easier better
to step in and out than it used to be.
Yep. Let's see. I would love to see a Ripstick 88 Black Edition. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. We'll tell Elan. Head 104 squash gear thoughts. Yeah, if you like lightweight freeride skis, pretty stiff, pretty responsive. So I would say if you're a reasonably good skier, good technique, it's a great choice. What can you tell me about the Stokely Laser AX? I currently ski V8s. Oh, pew, 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 broke his wrists in 2019 using pull straps.
Yep, there you go.
Maybe I'll cut mine off. I would say the Laser AX is just going to give you a more premium feel. A little bit more torsional stiffness, a little bit more vibration damping in that ski. It's something about Stokely that's really hard to explain, but when you ski them, you will know. It's just a premium quality ski. Let's see, just a couple more here. I want to get the Vocal Revolt 95. What would be a good binding for them? Marker Griffin, Tyrolia Attack 13, great choices, both affordable. Like we just said, pretty negligible difference in performance. Comfortable and kind of bored with groomed terrain, trying to get into the bumps. Fat versus narrow. I have lots of 80 and under skis. I'm light, 150-ish pounds. I'm going to answer that. Before I do, I'm going to answer the last question here. Been on Enforcer 104 Unlimited yet? Not yet, but very, very soon. Can I go wrong with Griffin 14 or 13? Attack 14 or over 13? No. You can't go wrong. Very, very similar. So going back to that last question, and that's what we will end with here. This is for Upstate Alb. I would say you don't want to go too wide. I think the sweet spot for you would probably be high 80 to mid 90 range. This is the question we started with, isn't it?
And fortunately, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff in there. Check out our 90 millimeter comparison and also the mid 90 comparison video. But we started with a very similar question. Ranger 94 FR, Rustler 9, Ripstick 88, Declivity 88C.
Yeah.
There's a ton of skis that'll work really well. But yeah, I would stick to the kind of mid 80 to mid 90 width range, and then you want to get something with a good amount of tip and tail rocker just to give you some more forgiveness and a little bit more fun ski. So yeah, boy, thanks guys.
Yeah,
this was a lot of fun.
That was great.
I had no idea what to expect. Bob, yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot of you guys have mentioned or put in comments that you'd like to do this again. I'd say that it's certainly not something that we could do every week, but maybe we'll work towards that. This is our first ever live video, as I said. So I think what we'll probably do is look into some supporting equipment and technology. You know, I think it'd be sweet if we could do live Top 5 Fridays videos.
Yep.
And take questions on those videos. But I would also say that we're still a little ways away from that capability. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed connecting with you guys in a live format.
Now, are they going to be able to comment on this after the fact?
There'll be two. My understanding is that there will be two different comment sections, is that people will be able to leave comments as you normally would, and then you can also see the comment stream from the live video.
All right.
So that's my understanding. As you can tell, we're pretty new to YouTube Live. So yeah, we're pretty exciting time of year here. Today was opening day, like we mentioned at one point in this video. We're expected to get like 3 to 7 inches this evening, 8 to 12 overnight, and 2 to 4 tomorrow. So
sounds good.
Bob and I will be out there tomorrow morning skiing a ton. How many likes you'd take your hats off? Like none. I just got a haircut.
I cut my own hair.
Look at that. No likes. You don't need any likes, and I'll take my hat off. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy holidays. Hope everybody had a fun Thanksgiving.
Bye.